This is Hushed Myths, a quiet place where ancient stories are not told loudly, but whispered. Here, myths are meant for the night, for rest, for those who listen with closed eyes before the story begins. If you feel like it, leave a small trace of your presence in the comment box. Tell us from where in the world you are listening and what this story makes you feel. Your words remain, even as the night passes. There is no hurry here, no pressure, only calm voices and forgotten legends. If you are awake, listen gently. If you are tired, rest. And if sleep finds you, let it. Welcome to Hushed Myths. Before gods were named, before stories were shaped, the universe existed without witnesses. No prayers echoed, no temples stood, no voices asked for meaning. There was only motion and stillness. Ancient thinkers believed that silence was the first state of existence, not chaos, not order, silence. Because in silence, nothing demands attention. And in silence, everything becomes possible. When the first gods emerged in myth, they did not arrive with thunder. They arrived quietly, as explanations, as answers to questions humans were afraid to ask alone. Why does the sun return? Why do storms rage? Why does death never explain itself? Gods were not rulers at first. They were listeners. But over time, listeners became voices. Voices became commands, and commands demanded worship. Ancient people believed the gods never slept. Every whisper was heard, every thought weighed, every secret noticed. There was no such thing as being alone. Even silence belonged to the divine. Fires burned day and night in temples, not to warm the gods, but to remind humans they were seen. Dreams were messages. Thunder was warning. Calm weather was approval. The gods spoke constantly until one night they didn't. It did not begin with fear. It began with confusion. Birds stopped calling before dawn. Dogs refused to sleep. The wind lost direction. Candles burned too steadily. Shadows stayed where they were. Priests noticed first, not because they were wiser, but because silence was their enemy. Prayers spoken into the night returned unchanged. No warmth, no reassurance, only stillness. When the night fully arrived, it arrived all at once. Stars dimmed, not disappeared, as if they were being watched. Across villages, cities, and empires, people felt the same sensation, not fear, but absence. Temples remained open, but gods did not enter. Statues felt heavier, altars colder, sacred spaces empty. Some claimed the gods were testing faith. Others believed humanity had failed. But the oldest storytellers whispered something else, that the gods were silent because they were listening. There are myths rarely spoken, not forbidden by law, but avoided by instinct. They speak of something older than gods, not evil, not good, uninterested. This presence did not create worlds. It allowed them, did not rule time. It watched it pass. The gods, according to these myths, were temporary. Stories eventually end. On that night, the silence was not empty. It was attentive. Dreams changed that night, not visions, not messages, but sensations. Falling endlessly, standing before something vast, knowing you were seen without being judged. Those who woke felt calm, not relieved, not enlightened, just quiet, as if something had acknowledged them and moved on. Morning returned as it always does. Wind resumed. Birds sang again. The world continued. The gods spoke once more, but something had shifted. They spoke less, demanded less, promised less, and humans began writing stories. Myths were not written to explain gods. They were written to remember silence, because silence does not lie. Some nights feel heavier than others. Some silences feel deeper. And some people still believe that when the world goes quiet, the gods are listening again, or perhaps something older is. You do not need answers tonight. You do not need meaning. Sleep does not require understanding, only surrender. Let the world fade softly. Let the past whisper, "You are safe." The myths are hushed, and silence is watching gently. The story does not end here. Stories never truly end. They only grow quieter. In ancient times, silence was not feared. It was respected. People believed silence was the space where truth rested. When the gods stopped speaking, the world did not collapse. It breathed. Fires still burned, stars still moved, time continued, without needing explanation. Perhaps the gods were never meant to speak forever. Perhaps their silence was a gift. A reminder that meaning does not always arrive as sound. Sometimes it arrives as rest. In the quiet that followed, people slept more deeply. Dreams softened. The world felt lighter. Nothing demanded attention. Nothing needed belief. Only presence. And presence is enough. You do not need to stay awake. You do not need to listen closely. The story will continue whether you hear it or not. Let your thoughts drift. Let your breathing slow. Let the night do its work. Long after the gods returned, their silence was remembered, not as fear, but as peace. And maybe, just maybe, silence was always the most powerful myth of all. Rest now. The story is finished, but the quiet remains.